Welcome to Here's the Story, a show that brings student affairs to life by sharing the authentic voices and lived experiences of those who are shaping the field every day. As a part of the Student Affairs Now family, we're dedicated to serving and furthering the people who walk the walk, talk the talk, and carry the rock, all of us who find ourselves serving students and their education in student affairs and higher education. You can find us at studentaffairsnow.com or directly at www.studentaffairsnow.com/. Here's the story, or on YouTube or anywhere you enjoy podcasts. We like to thank today's sponsors, Evolve. Evolve helps senior leaders release fear, gain courage, and take action for transformational leadership through a personalized, cohort based virtual learning experience. I'm your host, Helena Gartner. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I live as a mom, a sister, a daughter, and a friend, and a mentor. And I'm excited to be here today with my co host.
My name is Dr. Neil E. Galimo, and I'm the luckiest guy I know. I'm blessed to serve as the Director of Campus Living and Learning on Galveston's um, campus of Texas A&M. I'm a father, husband, son, and I'm over here just trying to do my best, do a little good, or get caught trying.
Ooh, I bet you get caught trying. I bet you get caught trying. Well, we
God.
are here today with Paul Brown, the famous Paul Brown, the well-traveled Paul Brown, the good foods Paul Brown, yes, the wonderful educator Paul Brown. You probably didn't know I was going to say all these things. I had the luxury of doing a session or two with Paul a few years ago with the Institute on the Curricular Approach, and I'm excited that someone who has blessed so many of us in the field by developing us, training us, giving us
Oh,
materials to read and reflect upon, made time for us this morning. So, Paul, we
man,
know you got a story to tell. You introduce
You-
yourself. You go ahead.
you're laying it on thick this morning. I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah,
it. You said well
because you're
traveled.
something
I was
like
I
you're like a
you
big
said well
deal.
traveled. I had a colleague that like my former hall director when I was an RA reached out and she works at a university in Karachi, Pakistan, and she's like, "Hey, why don't you come out here and help us out and do some things?" And so I was looking at flights to
Wow,
Karachi last night as one does. Yeah.
wow,
Yeah, right. Random.
wow.
Actually, that's related to my story. So that's actually like a little good tidbit because we're going to talk about that.
That's
So
excellent.
yeah, my name's Paul Brown. He, him, his pronouns. I worked in student affairs mostly within residence life for over 20 years. Wild. And I currently work at a software company called Roompact, which makes residence life and education software. So I've been in that role for 9 years now. But prior to that, I was always a campus-based professional, doing great things, various things. And so that's where I come into this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I just recently printed off your latest published material.
Oh, it's good. You know when you produce something and you finish it and you're like, this is good. Like you know it's good. Like you're like, I put into this and I feel like I did the things that I wanted to do and it is good. I'm excited for you to read it because I feel really good about like after that came out, I was like, yeah, this is the
That's
Yeah.
thing.
fantastic.
It's
Yeah.
usually the next morning. It's usually the next morning when I'm like, "Who did I write this? Wow, this is coaching. That's great."
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I'll
how I think you
frequently
gotta be.
present, and my boss, he'll be like, "Oh, that was really great," and I'm like, "No, I messed this up," and he's like, "No, it was fine," and I'm like, "No, trust me, I know when it's good and I know when it's not good. It might have been fine for the audience, but in my head, I know when I can do better and when when I nail it."
I'm excited to get into it. It's on a pretty pink binder, and I think all your stuff is good. So there's my
So
fan note.
no pressure.
There you go,
Right,
no
no
pressure.
pressure, no pressure right now, no pressure, because I know you got some stories to tell us
I
and
do.
wisdom to give us this morning.
All right. We'll aim for the wisdom. We'll at
Hmm.
least try to do that. So, you invited me on here, I was like, well, what story am I going to tell? And I always feel like there's this pressure to be something that's like super inspirational or things like that. And I was like, nah, I'm not the inspirational, motivational speaker type. And I came across the story that I want to tell today because I was like, oh, it's the question I get asked all the time. How did you get your job? I get
Mm,
asked that all the time. And so that's the story that I'm going to tell. And so usually people will ask me, how did you get your job? Because they're thinking, oh, I want to go higher ed adjacent. Like I don't want to work at a campus anymore for all the various reasons we know that it's difficult to work on a college campus. And so they're like, I want a job like yours. And so I give advice. I've been around the space, but I also go, my story is not a good model for how to get a good job. It was part luck. It was part being in the right place at the right time. It's also a job that just doesn't exist at other companies. It's very unique to where I work. So that's the story I'm going to tell today. So we're going to have to go back a decade. We're going to have to go back 10 years. At that time, I was at Boston College. I was a full-time PhD student. I had done that. Decided to go full time because I wanted to go into the faculty. And I love teaching and I loved it. And so we're getting towards the end. I'm going to start writing my dissertation. And so I'm going to have to think about what's next. And when I was thinking it through, I was like, well, I love teaching in the classroom, but I do not want to go through the grind of doing tenure and all that other kind of stuff. Like, if you could just let me teach and do that and light research, I'd be totally happy. And so I was like, maybe faculty is not the right route for me. Like, I could adjunct, I could do it on a side basis, but like full on. The other thing is, I had lived in various different places apart the country, and geography was something that was going to be really important to me. Hmm. And I wanted to be in a big city. And that's where the competition for those jobs comes in. So I was not willing to go somewhere else that was not a big city for a while to get tenure and then move. I'm like, no,
Mm.
I'm 37. I'm not doing that. So, so then I was like, well, then I guess I go back and be a practitioner, right? Like that's the only other thing that you do. And I luckily the folks at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City needed an interim dean of students AVP, and because they had left and they just needed someone to like kind of bail water for a while they hired someone permanently, and I had flexibility, and so I went and did that for a while, and I very quickly realized that since I had been a full-time student, oh, right, student affairs work, it just sucks up any time that you will give it, right? Like it'll bleed into any hour of the day, let alone a dean of students role or something like that, which is all problems
Yeah.
and messy things, generally speaking. You do a lot of that. And I'm like, I don't want to do this either. And if I do this, I will never finish my dissertation.
Mm.
And so I had gone full time, and the whole point of that, and I don't want to, so many people get all the way to that dissertation phase and then just can't get it over the finish line because life takes over.
Right,
And I say, if I take
right.
this job, life's going to take over. I'm never going to finish it. So I had applied for that job permanently, but I withdrew from that process. The other thing I think it taught me was when I worked on a campus, a lot of people will complain about campus politics, things like that. It never really fazed me. I'm like, it's just how it works and things like that. But when you leave it and then come back into it, I was like, oh, I don't like this anymore. Maybe I never did, but I just didn't notice it.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I worked on the dissertation and was like, okay, well then let's like look at adjacent things. And my dissertation was on social media and college students. Worked a lot in tech. I was blogging a lot at the time. I was doing independent speaking, keynoting, things like that related to social technology and college students. So I was like, maybe there's a tech angle. And so I loosely started to like look out for jobs. This is usually what I think motivates people, and they're like, I want a job like yours, is maybe they want to go into like a tech software space. If you look at those spaces, there's a few types of jobs.
Mm.
Sales, programming. I'm not a programmer, so that's out. There is some stuff of working with schools or clients or things like that, but they usually are umbrellaed under sales.
Mhm.
I don't do well in corporate environments. I don't like selling. I feel gross. It's not my thing. And so I was like, I need to find something that aligns with my values, and I can't work for some corporation because it's too far of a stretch to go from working at a nonprofit university to a corporate environment. So I put up a little flag on my LinkedIn profile. I think you can actually do this now, like through the software, but it didn't exist. So I ran into Photoshop, typed "I am job searching" into the bottom of my profile photo, and threw it up there.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, yeah. And now I think you can just like click a toggle and it will do it. But
Yeah.
Matt, who's my boss now, still, founder of the company, reached out to me and said, "Hey, like I've been reading your blogs and things like that, and I just kind of want to like pick your brain and see things." And so we got on a call and we chatted. And he's like, I don't know if we even have a job. So Roompact, for context, at this point, it had only existed for really 2 years as a company.
oh.
So it's very early on. Yeah. Held together with tape and string and things like that. Like, I mean, it was startup-y. And he's like, well, I don't know if we even have a job or things like that, but like, I'd love to like pick your brain about where you think the software should go. And I said, well, how about this? Like, I'll come visit you in Chicago because we had a physical office in Chicago at the time. And I'll kind of act as a consultant and kind of be like, hey, this is where you should go or what you should do and things like that. And then that way, even if there isn't a job or it ends up in a hiring, you get something out of it. And it'll be interesting for me to kind of learn about like what this company would look like. And so
Mhm.
that's how I got my job interview, which was not a job interview. Right? It was almost like a consulting. And so
Wow.
when I came in and I saw what they were doing, Roompact started at the time about roommate agreements, hence the name Roompact. Like that was pretty
Mhm.
much the core of it at the initial stage. And then it started to go, oh, we could also do duty reports. And so it started adding on all these residence life pieces. And when I went, I said, there's these cool people doing this stuff called residential curriculum, and they're going to need specialized tools to do some of those things. And there's no one out here who's probably on their radar, and they're at that time, and still today, but less so. There's only a handful of people that really understand it and know it deeply, and I happen to be one of those people.
Mm.
Um, I think this is the direction that it should go in. Is take that as the lead, still work with schools that don't use a residential curriculum, but if you focus on those things, it will help everyone.
Right.
Um, and so that's how I got my job. He's like, great, okay. And I was living in New York City at the time. And by living, I mean sleeping on my friend's couch in New York City at the time. And had finished the dissertation at this point. And so Matt flies in. We went to the meatball shop for lunch, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to offer you a job." And so he slides this envelope over the table at me, right? But he keeps his hand on it,
Wow.
and he says, "So I know that you are worth much more than this, but this is what we've got right now." And I shook the couch cushion covers to find anything that I could give you as far as a salary. And so, like, I mean, I knew because I mean, it was a startup. It was,
Yeah.
company of 4 people. I knew it was going to be low, but it was low.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, so remember, I'm 37 at the time, so I was like solidly had left kind of like a middle to middle upper level position in residence life, and now
Yeah.
I have a PhD. And so I open it up, and so this would have been 10 years ago, so this would have been 2015, and it's $60,000 a year. No benefits, right? No healthcare, no retirement, no nothing, because that wasn't a thing that we did at the time.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So you take that out, then it seemed like just you're like, oh, okay, maybe, but then you take that out and you're like, okay, whoa. All right.
Oof.
So um I took the leap. I was on Affordable Care Act health insurance. Actually Cobra coming out of my student health insurance lasted for like another year after I finished.
Wow.
And took the job. And my job, what was my job? My job was to do things. So
Hmm.
I basically created my own job. I said, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I think the company needs. here's the things I'm going to do. And so my job kind of very organically evolved. And at that time, in like a startup type area, you just did whatever you did. Like we have to train our schools. Well, no one's ever done that. So you just need to figure it out. Or like someone's emailing about this. Like there's no handbook, right? Like it's not when you work at a university that's been existing for a while.
Right.
Even if the procedures are messy, they exist. This was literally, this does not exist. You have to create it as you go, kind of a thing. And so that's kind of how I ended up in my job. So when people ask me like, "Oh, I want a job like yours," or "How'd you get your job?" I'm like, well, it kind of fell in my lap. I mean, granted, I was writing and doing the things to get me such that Matt would reach out to me, right? So I was doing things to put it in the universe to do it. So it wasn't like it was complete random luck.
Hmm.
There was some bits to it. And then the other thing is they're like, your job. And I'm like, well, my job isn't like anyone else's job. The other thing that part of what made me take the job at this company at a low salary when it was a startup and who knew if it was going to fail was Matt was very clear on why he wanted to start the company. He's like, I want to create a small business that has fun and takes care of its employees, and that's it. So like there's a lot of
Hmm.
companies out there that they take on all this investor money, they grow really fast, hire all these people, and then they sell it off to some other equity firm. They cash out, and then that equity firm goes in and like lays off people and like basically turns it into a cash cow. And what Matt had said, that's not the model I want to do. Like that's not, I don't want to cash out. Roompact was bootstrapped, which means that he basically asked his family and friends for money. So he had investors, but it wasn't like it was an investor. It was his family. It was his friends. And that's what was appealing to me because the values that had gotten me into higher ed, it was reflected in this company. And that's also why I don't work well in I wouldn't work well in corporate environments because those values of like, well, this is the right thing to do, but the financial bottom line says this, so you do the
Shareholders.
financial bottom line. And at least in my role, yeah, I mean, we need to make sure that we're making money because we need to pay ourselves.
Right.
But if it's the right thing to do, I will just do it without even needing to check with anyone and being like, yeah, this is going to cost us money and it's not like a financial return, but it's the right thing to do and this is what we should do. And that's also why it's unusual when people are like, I want your job. I'm like, well, good luck finding a company that operates like that. There's not a lot. Um, and so that was like a big part of why I love my job, why I continue to work here, why I wanted to work here, was just the values and being supported in that and all those kinds of things. And I can feel good about it. I can feel good about the way I think things that I do. That's my story. That's the
Well,
wild
Wow.
why you should not use me as a model for going outside of student affairs. And why, if you want my job, you're not going to find it because there's not many that exist that look like what I do.
well, I mean, I'm looking at this, it's a job where it started off with questionable housing, low pay, um,
Hmm.
a job description that's essentially 80% duties as assigned. Like, I can see why you left student affairs for this. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Like just the complete, and it fits well with like my work. Like I deal well with, yeah, just give me the sketch of things and let me go.
Yeah.
uh, is also my personality and way of working. So like
And
it's
you
great.
still and you still have the opportunity to educate. And you still have
Yeah.
the opportunity to bring folks along and
Yeah.
do all of those like higher ed student affairs type things without the politics.
Yeah.
So what must we be like when you encounter us? What must that experience be? What is that like when you I don't know, I guess I'll say feel the heavy
Mm.
on colleagues
mm,
around the way? Do you see it on us? Do we look like it?
I think,
that,
like you remember when I said after I had gotten out of it and then came back into it, then it
Yeah,
felt differently. I
yeah.
think when you get into the flow. And if that's kind of all you've done, the things that are heavy, annoying, things like that, you've
Hmm.
learned to adapt to it to a point where you don't even notice it anymore. Or, yeah, that's annoying, but it doesn't take up your whole brain space. I don't think that happens to everyone. I think that's when we talk, about the Great Resignation and all that kind of stuff. I think there's some people that walk in and just go, whoa, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is totally valid.
Yeah.
And then there's some people, the people that are like, no, this is I'm sticking with it. This is what I love to do. Who, through, I think, a mixture of maybe just their personality, but also their coping mechanisms, plus maybe their personal lives and the things that go on there, that are able to juggle it and it doesn't impact them in the same way that it might others. I think it would be interesting to flip the question around, is if you all stepped outside, did something else, and came back into it,
Mm.
what would you think? If, like, oh, I used to do that? Wow, I can't believe I did that.
Well,
You know, that's
you're talking to housing folks in late August. So
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
if you're asking if I've ever thought about doing anything else, like I
100%
would
true.
go into underwear modeling again if I had
Yeah.
to at this point. So
Same.
so so yeah, but
It's funny that you say that because as a voyeur, following you on the socials, watching you move around, I think what I envy is that flexible schedule. And like I'm wearing a little green today because, we just first day of classes was yesterday, so I'm all in this affinity, and I like that about this work. Whatever campus
Mhm.
I'm on, I want to don the gear, the colors, like I'm that. Whatever your mascot is, that's my homeboy. But I do envy the freedom that it seems you have, though, traveling and presenting, that can be exhausting. Being amongst stranger danger all the time can also be exhausting. But looking in, one of the things I think about is that, you get to, the envy I have is that you have topics I'm assuming you enjoy. So I don't know, tell us about that. And you get to help do that on repeat. And where today, like I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what today is going to bring. We're going to see. We're going to see what happens between now and 5. And sometimes, like watching you, I do envy that. And so it's not only the well-traveled piece that I'm like, where's Paul today? But it's also a little bit of, and that continuity just seems like that feels good. What's that like for real, for real?
It is good.
Tell me about
I mean, it
yourself.
is. We're remote. We've been remote since January of 2020. And you remember what happened 2 months after January 2020.
Yeah.
We went remote early, slightly early. And I was pretty resistant to us going remote for a while. Because
Really?
I having worked on a campus, I'm like, no, you need to be present. You need to be here for RA training. You can't miss a day, right? Like, I felt like we needed an office to hold things together. I was wrong, but we went remote, and um like I mentioned, I have the freedom to do things in my job where I'm like, okay, we're doing this and I know what needs to get done. The other freedom that I have is because I work for a company, like I said, where the financial bottom line is not the only and is not the primary thing that we look at. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to write about this, or I want to start a podcast, or I want to do this. And I don't have to justify it through a full-on Roompact lens. I go, is this good for the field as a whole?
Mm.
Would this be good for the schools that we work with? Okay, then let's do it. Like, let's try it and things like that. So I have freedom to do things because you'll even look at some of the stuff that I produce out of my job.
Yeah.
It does not have a heavy sales fist on it, meaning like you're gonna read this book, and in the middle, it's gonna give you this pitch, and it's gonna be really hard. We don't do that, and we don't need to do that, and we don't want to do that.
Mm.
And that's what makes me feel good about it is I'm just like, what's good for the field? Because what's good for the field is good for us in the long run.
It's
And
so that's
it's a
so interesting.
long-term play. Yeah, and I get to do what I can go around and I can do these things, and if it's good for everyone, then it's good for us too.
I love
Sorry.
that because honestly, no, I'm sorry to have interrupted you. The thing that keeps me pulled in, like I'm a learner. It's not in my top five, but I'm a learner. And it's free. Like there's nothing I only have to engage with the materials. If it is published and produced, I have access to it. And I don't know that it was intentional, but it keeps me engaged because I know that this is for my learning. This is for the betterment of the work. It is not for $25. And not that that is not sometimes what the cost, but
Hmm.
definitely I experience the things you produce and share and Roompack as a whole, because there's a lot of free stuff. So I experience it as for the good of the order and
Yeah.
not so much for retail. And it's a different way of engaging with the material for me. I just know I can count on it. I know it's there. And I don't have to worry about anything because I know. Okay, I know Paul. There's a couple folks from Roompack I met, but I know that you have done the scholarly work with it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's legit.
Well, and so when we started, it was very much me producing all of the stuff. And what's been kind of cool is
Mm,
over time, as I've needed to do other things, or just my interests have slightly shifted and things like that, I still produce stuff, but my role has also become how can I find good people that also produce good stuff and then pay them for it, right? Like, so we have bloggers that we refresh every year and we
yeah,
pay them.
yeah,
They write once a month for us. And now we have a podcast, and so we have podcast hosts. So
yeah.
it's more like how can I find good people that are also doing cool stuff, elevate them, use the platform. I have a pot of money because I work for a company, so I can pay hosts. I can pay people for their labor and not just say, please do this because it's cool, which is sometimes okay, but sometimes not, but like I can do that. And so it's kind of been fun that I've taken a little bit more of a slight back seat and been more now that I'm promoting the other folks that are doing good work, which then puts them in random situations, which then hopefully they have a story like I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
In fact, it's already happened where some of our bloggers, someone got hey, you should apply for this job in a campus interview, all based off of the blog post that they wrote for part of
Wow.
our. Yeah,
Wow.
So Paul, what do you
yeah.
miss? What do you miss? Like we talked about what you like, but like what do you miss?
Uh, I can tell you my pop culture knowledge is woefully inadequate.
Fair.
Then
Hmm.
I'm around, you're around students. I knew what the hot songs were. I knew what memes you were
Yeah.
doing, things like that. I know nothing of that now because I just don't have the students around me. So,
Yeah.
as cliche as it is to say, like, I miss the students or it's all about the
Hmm.
students, but like that energy being
Yeah.
around that, I really miss that a lot, like that energy of a campus and the collegiality and things like that. I worked at a lot of campuses that were really good in that regard in terms of culture. And there's just something that, especially working remote, I might not even need to walk outside today. That
Fair.
just compounds the fact that you're not in a place. And I think that's the thing that I miss most.
I think I would really miss the cycle, like being
Oh,
in the cycle. Like that's one thing that I really, really like about what we do is, every year you have a chance to get a little bit better
yeah.
and to tweak. And like I tell my students in the spring that I can't wait to miss you guys. And then it seems like every year it takes a little bit less time for me to begin to miss them. So that's comforting to hear you say that at least.
So here's the fun fact. So I'm still on the cycle, but I'm just in a slightly shifted cycle, meaning right now we're in the time period where movement's happening. So people
Yeah.
are emailing us saying, hey, the students aren't in the software and whatever, and da 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 da. And then we're going to go into a quiet period now when things open.
Yeah.
And so I actually still follow an academic calendar. My day job is
Makes
very
sense.
cyclical, but it's like slightly shifted. So, oh, it's January, which means people are doing training. So I'm visiting campuses during January, and then I won't do any travel until the summer, in which case everyone wants me to
Wow.
come the last 2 weeks of July and first week of August.
Right.
And so I actually do kind of still follow that rhythm, let's say, of that a little bit.
That I never thought of that, but yeah, that's still the work. It's still
Yeah.
how it moves. That's interesting. Well, as we round out your story, one of the things that we started doing, I think it's a cool thing we do where we get the story that's in a snapshot of time, right? You say it's about 10 years ago, decade ago. When you think about Paul Brown today, how has it served you? I'm gonna put a lot of things out there. You choose the adventure. How's it
All
served
right.
you?
Okay.
Would you
I'm good.
take the leap again? In the today frame, on this day, how are you if you look back 10 years ago? How's it impacted your life?
Um, it really freed me up, and I found something that lifestyle wise works really well for me. I think when I was always an overachiever, right? Honors student, that whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was always about achieving and next thing and promotion and things like that. And when I was in my student affairs work on a campus, that was how I viewed my career.
Mm,
When I walked away from it and then came into this role, how I evaluated success and what I wanted changed. And this is more authentic to me and more organic, and I can move in different directions, but I'm not looking to, I'm a department of one. What am I going to become? I'm not looking to climb up a ladder. I'm not looking to knock off these achievements in the same kind of way, in a formal way. That I
wow.
think, yeah, I think that that has really shifted, shifted a lot. I don't, I also think I'm more comfortable with ambiguity than I was before. One of the things that was comfortable about higher ed is there was a path and it was
Yeah.
clear. This is what you do. You get your master's right after your undergrad, and you do an internship, and you probably do an Akuhoi internship over the summer. Then you get an entry level hall director role. Then you do, like there's a little bit of a script you can follow.
Yeah.
And for me at that time, that was important to follow a script.
Yeah.
Like it was
There's a
easy and it was
safety.
what
There's
I needed
safety
to do
net.
to get me through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I don't have that same kind of field need.
So what
Wow.
student affairs skills, lessons do you think that you learned from student affairs and working in student affairs that best serves you now?
I think, you always talk about the kind of Swiss Army knife effect, especially of
Mhm.
people working in residence life. And I think also the ability to shift through and say, here's what's most important. So here's the things that we need to make sure happen. Here's the things that are nice to have. Here's the things, and be able to size that up quickly,
Hmm.
and act on it almost without even thinking a little bit. I think that's been the biggest thing that's helped me in my role. The thing I unlearned, which is not what you asked, but I'm going to give you what I
Yeah.
unlearned from my student affairs work, is it's okay to let go of things.
Mm,
Meaning, oh,
mm,
we've been doing it this way forever. And, or this is my baby and I've poured so much energy into it. Sometimes it's, you have to let things go and move on to the next thing, or it's served its purpose and you have to let go of it. And I've learned that pretty heavily in this job as things change and, we have to be more nimble. Um, as a company, working at a company, I'm much more attuned to, okay, we need to move to where things are going to be, not where they are now. And I think in a higher ed setting at an institution, there's a comfortability to stay where you are and you're protected in doing that. And so I had to push outside that.
So you're saying all the time I spent learning how to loft a bed by myself isn't gonna isn't gonna translate to the
It's still
public
a good
sector,
life skill.
the private sector.
there are people who cannot do it, and that makes
Yeah.
you special. Neil, this is what I
I didn't
want
say
you
I
to
could do it
know.
well, guys. I didn't say I could do it well, but
I need you to do it well enough, though,
there you
because it's a
go.
bed. It's a bed. Well, thank you for that. And that was, yeah, but I'm probably gonna stay at my good day job. And though that's a perspective. Like the unlearning part, that's because it's very hard to shake the tradition and the pattern in the cycle. It's very
Mhm.
hard to free from that, and what do folks say? If you bring in an expert to tell us to do it, we can shake it. If we try to do it ourselves, we can find 70,000 excuses as to
Yeah.
why we need to just keep assessing, tweak this part and do it again. And maybe, though, it's time to let some things go. And on that note, I'm
Hmm.
going to thank you for being with us today. I hope that we don't create another great resignation from folks listening to
I
us.
already told you my job doesn't exist, so you can't take it. So
And I
there's
appreciate
nowhere
you
else to
saying that
go.
because to that point, it's not easy. It's what you're looking for may not be in all jobs. And I think that's a lesson for any of us, is that it just may not be everywhere, even if Paul Brown makes it look good. So, and you
Yes.
do. You do. I'm going to watch where you go. I'm going to check out your hotel rooms, and I'm going to have that incredible envy of the opportunity to see the world and let me be super cheesy and change the world at the same time.
Fiji in 2 weeks. Get ready for it.
I'm just going to be on the second floor
Of
in the
course.
building. That's all I'm doing is going up the elevator. But I want to thank our guest, Paul Brown, for sharing your professional journey with us, tapping into a little bit of our envy and a whole lot of our hopes and dreams, because I just think it's important that when we do these stories, is for all of us to be able to reflect on who we are and how we are and how we got here. Going to give another shout out to our sponsor, Evolve. Evolve helps senior leaders who value, aspire to lead on, and want to unleash their potential for belonging and transformational leadership. Our own Dr. Keith Edwards, along with Doctors Brian Arroyo and Dawn Lee, offer a personalized experience with high impact value. The asynchronous content and 6 individual and 6 group coaching sessions maximize your learning and growth, and with a focused time investment, greatly enhancing your ability to lead powerfully for social change. This episode has been edited by the great Nat Ambrosi. Thank you for making us look
Thank
and
you,
sound
Nat.
good. It's like you're the best. You're absolutely the best. I want to give a shout out again to my co host, Neil. Any last words, Neil?
I'm the lucky one.
We're lucky together today. Thank you. And this has been Here's the Story, part of the Student Affairs Now family. We are so glad you joined us to laugh, cry, learn, sometimes commiserate, and always celebrate being a part of the Student Affairs experience. If you have a story to tell, and we all do, please consider sharing if I can get these words out, sharing a story with us by leaving a 2-minute pitch via voice file at studentaffairsnow.com/. Here's the story, or you know what, you can reach out to Neil, myself, our good friend JT, and we're happy to talk you through it and get you to it. Because even if you don't feel like sharing your story, um, a lot of folks are sharing theirs, and we want to get yours with us. So, on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much, Paul, for being here with us today.